Hey, Michigan Maniacs. This is the Michigan Maniac Podcast, and I am your host, Adam Brewer. This is a bi-week episode, the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is where we go and we kind of do a mid-season review of all the things Michigan football. And we set them up in the three categories. Very easy. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So before we get into that, obviously, guys, go to all social media, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook fan group, all of it's fantastic. I try to answer as many questions as possible and talk to you guys, do whatever. We have a good time. Also, I put a lot of the self-made memes. I don't find them. I make them myself, which I'm very proud of. I put them on Twitter or Instagram. I hope you like them. Anyways, just like and review, or just like 5 stars. Perfect, awesome. This way it gets me into, everybody. It affects the algorithm, as they say. You know the review, you know the process. Everybody knows what to do. Blah, let's get into it. So, this is the bye week. I think it comes at a very good time for us, with a few of the Wolverines pretty banged up. Gives us a week. I like this bye week because it's close enough to the Michigan State game that we can solely just focus on Michigan State for this week. Getting all the kids healthy, but really focusing and fine-tuning some of the stuff for Michigan State, and without having to worry about focusing on Northwestern, because we can do that next week. Perfect, right? Northwestern's still an opponent and still can bite you in the ass if you don't give them enough attention, but they are putrid. But that's one thing. You don't want to lose a game on the easiest game of the next, 6 that we're getting ready to play? And the next 6, all of them have some form of difficulty, some sort of different challenge. But the good thing is, everything that we're going to face in the next 6 weeks, right, even though they present new challenges, but they still have been presented to us earlier in the season. You can look back and you can find different things that match up to get us ready for these games, right? Like Nebraska. Nebraska's a perfect example of that. One, Nebraska will address the atmosphere, because the whiteout's going to be at night. Happy Valley is just a crazy environment. If you were listening to any of the other Michigan podcasts, Blue by 90 I really enjoyed. Matter of fact, I give them a great shout out. But Joel Honingford was on there, and he said he's been in a whiteout and he's been in Nebraska, obviously, right? But he said he couldn't tell you which one was louder. Now, Camp Randall was huge because we haven't won there in forever. I think that takes us to playing Ohio State. We haven't won in Camp Randall in 20 years. We haven't beaten Ohio State in like 10. Still very similar, right? But anyways, getting back to the Nebraska example. So getting ready, being down to a good offense, not a great offense, a good offense, just like Penn State. Penn State has a good offense. Matter of fact, I would probably say Nebraska's got a better offense because Nebraska threw the kitchen sink at us. A lot of different views, a lot of different looks, some of them completely illegal formations, like the couple that they scored those touchdowns on. So do you really blame the defense for not looking ready? I mean, how often do you prepare a defense for 5 people in the backfield? You can't, because it shouldn't exist, right? So no wonder they looked confused. But you're playing a very good offense in a hostile place that's super effing loud, right? Same thing that we're going to be facing with Penn State. The overall talent level is probably a notch higher, right? Just because recruiting levels and all that kind of stuff. But the environment is the same. So if you can come back from that when you're already down, had a lead, lost the lead, and regained the lead through all of that, perfect early test for us to get ready for Penn State. Right? I don't know if anybody can really get us ready for Michigan State. Michigan State is just one of those things that I never feel comfortable when we play Michigan State. As much as they could be 0-10, and I'd still be nervous going into Michigan State. You just never know how Michigan's going to come into that game because it's their Super Bowl, but we don't always show up and act like it's ours. You know, being a second-tier rival like they are to us, because Ohio State, regardless of what Michigan State people want to say, Ohio State is our number one rival. You know, now Michigan State will probably say something, well, Ohio State's our number one rival. No, it's not. And even if it is, that's just sad. It's sad that that Michigan State doesn't have a number one rival. If you really, really think about it. It's not us. They may say that. They may say, oh, Michigan's you just scared of us because we beat you all the time or whatever they say. You know, it's mainly incoherent. But they're always the bridesmaid, never the bride in any of this, right? Ohio State doesn't think of them as the main rival. We don't think of them as the main rival, even though they probably think that we are their main rival. It's pretty sad, actually. I feel bad for Michigan State, really. I mean, just in every way, I just feel bad for them. But anyway, so Michigan State, there's not anything we can really get used to other than just getting ready to play a good. Well, I guess no, because Wisconsin has a bad running game. They didn't really have a great running game this year either. But anyways, I'm just wandering about right now. Let's get back to it, okay? So we're going to do the good, the bad, and the ugly of what, in my opinion, we've seen this season, right? The great part about this is there's way more good than there is bad or ugly. So let's focus in on, well, you know what? I know it's the good, bad, and the ugly. Let's start off with the ugly and then work our way to the good. So this way we have a lot to close on. And then also we'll talk about the round robin playoff that's getting ready to start in the Big Ten East. Big Ten East, this is going to be one of the most exciting playoff seasons. I know it's not really considered a playoff, right? It's just regular season. But this is like a round robin tournament we're getting into here starting October 30th. It's going to be nuts. There's going to be, I think we're going to see some fantastic games between these three teams. Between these four teams. I think you're going to see some amazing games, to be quite honest. Nail biters, maybe 1 to 2 blowouts, depending on what the mixture is. But overall, just highly competitive. And then you throw in 1 or 2 stinkers. But overall, you're going to be like, God, that was fucking awesome. Okay, so we'll start off with the ugly. The ugly for me, it's only 2 things, really, to be quite honest with you. And that is the red zone play calling, which I think is absolutely atrocious. 100% just stinky god-awful, right? And then 2, because I'll say them both and then I'll break them down because I think they tie in together, but not really. And then number 2 is leaving points out on the field, right? Because that's what we're noticing. If we're going to win this round-robin playoff with Michigan State, Penn State, and Ohio State, we cannot afford to trade field goals for touchdowns. Because if they score touchdowns, we have to match them. We can't be leaving 4 points out on that field constantly. I mean, look at how the Wisconsin game could have been much different at halftime if we scored the 2 examples. Like Wisconsin game, 3 points we scored after we covered the fumble of the punt. So the pumble, whatever I just said, right? So that right there, only 3 points off of that. We left 4 out on the field. Very important that Rutgers towards the end of the first half, missed opportunity there, right? The Nebraska game where Sanders still comes up with an amazing catch, gets us into the red zone. 3 points? We cannot win big games against Michigan State, Penn State, and Ohio State. Because you know what they're going to do. You know Ohio State will throw and will cash in. They'll score touchdowns. So if we're only matching that with field goals, we're screwed. We're not going to win that game. We won't even get close to winning that game. So even if we want a chance to win that game, we have to clean that up. We have to. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. The red zone play calling has to improve. You can't make any more excuses. There cannot be a reason why we are kicking field goals instead of scoring touchdowns. We have to. We have to do that now. That has to be a priority against Northwestern, so this way we can push it against Michigan State, and then when we play Indiana. You don't think we're going to have a hard time? Indiana presents an interesting problem with their if their quarterback's healthy in their passing game, right? And we can't be dicking around kicking field goals just on the off chance that they score touchdowns. We can't do it. We want to be an elite team, right? That's the next step, isn't it? It's to get to the Big Ten title game. Well, to get to the Big Ten title game, you have to get through Penn State. You have to get through Penn State and Oklahoma, Ohio State. And I'll even throw Michigan State in there this year. But you have to get through those teams. And Gaddis has got to come up with something better than what he's been doing in the red zone. Plain stinky. I think everybody and their mother knows now that when you see J.J. McCarthy in, more than likely, if it's in the first, second quarter, even third, it's only going to be, he's going to keep the ball. He's turning into Jabril Peppers. I don't like to say that because I would love to see him fucking throw the ball once in that position. You know? Keep it, hand it off, but throw the freaking ball, something. Make them, unless we're setting this up. Okay, now listen. If we're setting it up, then I'll give them a pass. Like, you're making Michigan State think that all we're doing is treating them like Jabril Peppers, which is a Harbaugh trait. So they may be like, same old Harbaugh, and they're setting them up, and then in that Michigan State game, he's going to drop back and hit a tight end down the seam for a 50-yard gain or something. That would be awesome. Okay, I'll forgive that if this what they're doing is they're playing chess instead of checkers here. Great, awesome. I just fear, like most of you, that it's the same old Harbaugh bullshit. We find an athletic player to get back there and then just run around and do nothing. That's what I worry. So play calling's got to get better. We can't leave points out on the field. That is the ugly for me. Plain and simple, the ugly, that will chop our feet off and we can't do shit if we don't improve that. We're going to fail in the biggest games if we can't figure a way around that. The bad, okay. The bad, not a lot on the bad, okay, but these also kind of scare me, but I wouldn't say they're the ugly because I think they're very fixable, right? And they've already shown improvement. I'm not sold on the cornerback play, just not. I love Vincent Gray. I think like I said, last year, even before he stunk out loud, I was on his side. I thought he was a more physical Channing Stribling. I loved his gameplay. I mean, the way he guarded the wide receivers in that Alabama game was fantastic. Even in the Ohio State game was pretty good. In 2019, but not sold. Green will give up at least one big play every first quarter. Then he kind of settles in. But when we play big-time passing games like Michigan State, Penn State, and Ohio State, how are our cornerbacks going to hold up? That's what worries me. But our front seven is amazing. So as long as our front seven continues to get pressure on the quarterback, then God willing, our cornerbacks aren't going to be like exposed. And if they continue to improve, the more time they can be exposed without making big mistakes, right? So hopefully that happens. I think right now, I don't know who our third cornerback really is going to be. I mean, I know it's DJ Turner at the moment, but I know he was my preseason breakout defensive player of the year, and he's not showing it to me right now. But if he can somehow turn it around and become more of because he's holding way too much. The byproducts of Don Brown's defense is really starting to show. You know what I mean? Like the bad habits. Like when you get lazy or when you get tired, what do you usually do? That's when you expose your bad habits, right? So that's what I'm worried about there. I'm hoping DJ Turner turns this around. I would like to see Selden. So I don't know if he has no clue what's going on yet. I think he's a dog. I can't wait to see this kid play. I love his aggressiveness, like I told you all last season. I love his attitude. I think he fits perfectly into the defensive backfield. I just, obviously we don't see what he does on a daily practice thing, so maybe he's completely lost out there. I hope not, but, it is what it is at this point. So I'm hoping DJ Turner steps up. We need the cornerbacks to get better at not holding. That's the one thing that scares the hell out of me. Because that Michigan State game, that's all that shit was, right? And that it gives me complete, utter anxiety just thinking about playing Michigan State this year because how bad our cornerbacks played. And I haven't seen us be completely amazing yet. Now, granted, you have Daxton Hill now as the dime back, which that helps out immensely. That's a godsend right there, right? So to have him kind of solidify things, bring it, kind of be that anchor for the team, I like that because the safeties are playing really well. The safeties are playing really well, and our cornerbacks, God, if they can just take one more step forward, I'll be super excited about this. The other bad is the linebacker coverage. And I know we've got two true freshmen, well, not true freshmen, Colson, true freshman, and Nikai Hill-Green, redshirt freshman. So those are basically our two linebackers along with Josh Ross. And we all know, God love Josh Ross. I think he's fantastic. I think he's the leader of that team. I really do. But we all know he stinks. Absolutely stinks out loud when it comes to coverage. He can't cover back out of the backfield. He can't cover wheel routes. He can't cover tight ends. He can't cover anybody. Just cannot do it. I mean, I love him. I love what he does on that field. I know he's the heartbeat of this defense. He does a lot of great things. But the one thing he can't do, he cannot cover anybody. They are more times than not, they're too aggressive, I would think, and they're going to get their eyes caught in the backfield, and you can't do that against Michigan State because that's what Michigan State's going to want to do, especially with Walker. Oh, Penn State, they have a decent run game. I'm not too worried about Penn State's run game. I'm more worried about Michigan State run game and Ohio State's run game because that's where our linebackers are going to find themselves in the biggest pickle is that they're going to want to fill those gaps. They're going to want to run downhill. They're going to want to run that and take out Henderson or Walker, and then what's going to happen? Play action pass right over their head, tight end, right down the middle, touchdown, crossing route, touchdown, whatever. Or they're going to try and make Josh Ross cover, and that scares the hell out of me too. So overall, linebacker play's got to get better. Just has to get better. But I mean, I'm totally understandable about it. I mean, we got two freshmen starting, which we would have never had under Don Brown. So I'm fine with it. I'm willing to take the lumps. I really am. Because I think overall this defense is just going to get better, better, and better. And I don't think Mike McDonald is going to put them in positions to be exposed. But they still have to make the progress, right? Those are the only bads that I see with this. So, I mean, they're huge bads because what we're going to face later on scares the hell out of me. But, like I said, this stuff is very fixable, right? I'm sure that's what they're going to be paying attention to all week this week is how they're going to defend Michigan State. And if you defend Michigan State well, you can definitely defend Ohio State. I definitely think that because they're built similar. It's just that Ohio State's a 10, Michigan State's like a 7. You know what I mean? Ohio State's got some of the best probably got the best wide receiving core in the nation. In the nation. And that offense, I'll give it to them. I can't stand Ohio State, but goddamn, they know how to that offense is clicking. I hate to say it, but that's just how it is. So those are the bats, right? Oh, and the drop balls. It drives me nuts to see wide receivers have the ball hit them in the hands and they drop it. Now, I think that's just that it's a relationship thing with McNamara. Getting those in-game reps. Understanding because I think Dalen Baldwin's still probably just learning the offense. I mean, So I think the more we go along, hopefully by the time we get to Ohio State, they are clicking like crazy. So I'm hoping by Michigan State that happens. But I would like to see the drop balls go away. Now, it hurts when you don't have Ronnie Bell for the whole season. And hopefully Roman Wilson is back by Michigan State. So that kind of, eases things. But those are only three things. Very fixable, right? But if not, can screw us. So those are the bad. Now the good. Let's get to the good, because the good is my fave. It's my favorite part. I mean, where do we start? Just one, the running game. Wow, right? We are on pace right now to have two running backs that are rushed for over, looks like 1,100 yards. I think Corum's is projected to hit 1,300, and I think Haskins is projected to hit like 1,150. Do you know how ridiculous that is? I think Higdon was our last 1,000-yard rusher, and we didn't even, before that, I think it was like Fitz-Toussaint or something like that. It was ridiculous. For being known as a running team, we didn't have very many 1,000-yard rushers, and now this year we are on pace to have two. Phenomenal. That's the absolute great. That's beautiful. The offensive line is only allowed two sacks, I think, this season. 2 sacks. We've only had one turnover. Oh, no, 2 turnovers. My fault. 2 turnovers, 1 in garbage time and 1 in against Nebraska. But to be quite honest, if the refs were calling a much better game, that interception wouldn't have counted either, because that kid was way offside for Nebraska when he threw that interception. So, regardless, still, great quarterback play. Regardless of what you think of Cade McNamara, he is the best quarterback we've had in there since Ruddock, or Rudick, whatever you want to call him, in my opinion. Now, obviously, I'm talking about Harbaugh era. Obviously, he's no Chad Henne or even Ryan Mallett, but in the Harbaugh era, he's the second best quarterback we've had. I mean, he's like Shea Patterson if Shea Patterson could actually throw the ball, instead of underthrowing everybody. So I love Cade. I love how cool, calm, and collected he is. Yes, it scares me that he could be holding us back. That is nerve-wracking, because how do you tell a guy who is doing everything you need him to do, but is doing at say a 7 when you need him to be at a 10, and you have a guy behind him that you think can be and take your team to that 10, right? It's tough. I mean, it's tough, dude, but that's why Harbaugh gets paid all the big money to make those decisions. So hopefully he makes the right one with this. Defensive tackles, holy crap. They're phenomenal this year. I mean, considering what they were over the last 2 years, to have them, what they're doing now, is fantastic. I mean, hands down, 2 of my favorite defensive tackles of all time, Alan Branch and Mo Hurst. And I'm telling you, we have a chance to have 2 Mo Hursts out there. If you can get Mozzie Smith to be like an Alan Branch, a big guy who can stuff the middle but can still get in the backfield and make things happen, right? But it mainly just plugs holes and makes it impossible to move him. And then you get Hinton or even Chris Jenkins. Dude, if Chris Jenkins starts playing like his father, get out of here. It's over. Our defense is going to the next level. But you get Hinton to start acting like Mo Hurst, oh my God. If that happens, oh my God. The cornerbacks won't have to even get much better. They won't have to get much better, because if you get a defensive tackle to play like Mo Hurst, holy shit, we're going to be freaking unstoppable. Because you've got the best defensive player in college football with Aiden Hutchinson. You've got David Ojabo coming up like crazy. Then you throw in a guy who's like Mo Hurst in either Hinton or Mozzie Smith, or hell, Chris Jenkins, or Mike Morris. Oh my God. This defensive front line is so impressive. They are so much better than they were. And, oh God bless you, Sean Nua. Sean Nua must have been seriously handicapped last year, like by the defensive coordinator, Don Brown, by old grumpy man Don Brown, because look at the vast difference of players and how good they are now compared to the same guys last season and the season before that. Unbelievable. God bless you, Sean Nua. So yeah, I'm super excited about this defensive line. They are looking fantastic, and I'm telling you, Chris Jenkins, he's more than likely. If I have to change around my defensive player, the breakout defensive player of the year, right? Obviously, I'm not going to pick Aiden Hutchinson. That's just an obvious thing. David Ojabo's still obvious at this point, right? If I'm picking new breakout players, I'm picking Jenkins. I think he's going to have a huge second half of the season. I really do. I think he's just hitting his stride right now. I can't wait to see what this kid does. So yeah, I think Chris Jenkins, if we get one of these defensive ends to be like Mo Hurst, forget about it. We're dominating the rest of this season. We have a real chance to go into that Ohio State game and actually win this year. If we get one of these defensive linemen, one of these defensive tackles to start acting and playing like Mo Hurst, forget about it. And we get more than one, like if we get that combo I talked of, an Alan Branch and a Mo Hurst, oh my God, my head might explode. I'll be super excited. I will mainline the blue juice, baby. Just give it to me. The blue Kool-Aid all day long if that happens. The freshmen, a big shout out to all the freshmen. Green, Nakai Hill Green, and Colson. I mean, yeah, they were in the bad part of my list, but still they're freshmen and they're playing at such a high rate. They're going to make mistakes, right? And they're all fixable mistakes, but geez almighty, they look fantastic. They look fantastic with one or two deficiencies just because they're freshmen. That's it. It's inexperience, and that's the only reason why they made the bad part of this list. That was it. Not because they're slow, dumb, don't know what they're doing, none of that. They are been very exciting to watch. Colson, very exciting to watch. He's a ball hawk. He has a nose just to be everywhere that ball's got to be, right? Running backs, I mean, let's face it. Edwards is looking fantastic. I think when Hassan Haskins, I believe, is a junior, I would assume this is his chance to go in the NFL, right? So I would assume Haskins will go to the NFL next year, which leaves a perfect spot for Edwards to step in. So you got Edwards and Corum, another fantastic dynamic duo next season. McCarthy, what can you say? His ability to drop the ball in a bucket from 50 plus yards out, and it looks like he's barely even throwing it. The future is so bright for this football team. I mean, the fact that they stay up till 4:30 in the morning practicing with each other. Andrel Anthony, I want to throw in there. If I have to pick out one player that could make some noise, I'm going to say it's Andrel Anthony, just because nobody has really solidified themselves as a starting wide receiver, like the number one guy. CJ's doing pretty good. Dalen Baldwin's having some struggles. But outside of that, A.J. Henning really hasn't done much. Now, I don't know if that's because his route running isn't really hasn't stepped up a level, you know what I mean, to that college level of running a route. Roman Wilson seems like he's starting to, so hopefully he's not injury plagued. But Andrel Anthony, I think he's going to be the guy that flashes a bit in at least one of these games. And it could even be like the Maryland game. It could be like the Indiana game, Northwestern. It could be even just one of those games. It might not even be one of the big games. But you're going to see him flash. And I think it's going to be at least one game. Let's see here. We covered all that. Oh, the blocking, the offensive line. I mean, the tight ends, wide receivers, O-line, everything. The blocking is so much better than from last year. It's very impressive. That is a huge leap, and just why we're doing so well, why we have two running backs that are going to rush for over 1,100 yards each. I mean, they are the unsung heroes, right? Let's see here. Oh, just their overall attitudes now. The culture, a big one in the good column. The culture really does seem to have changed. They are happy to be around one another. I mean, obviously, and we've talked to it at this point ad nauseum. The jump around at Wisconsin, thunderstruck at Nebraska when we were already down, doing that. I mean, all of that is something that Michigan teams have not done, and probably my whole fandom. From the time I was a fan in '83 till now, I've never seen a team with this kind of attitude about it. They really, I'm sure there's other great chemistry teams, but they were more subdued, the Michigan way of doing things back in the day. So they really didn't show that kind of thing. I mean, they've got some straight up vibes about them this year. And if we can fix up just some things, this round robin is going to get exciting. Wow. But before we get into my thoughts on the round robin, we close this out. Let's go to oddball betting. Oddball betting. When you're done betting sports, bet oddball. Now we'll just stick within, like I always say, the Big Ten country, right? Connor Cook's hobo fights. That's right, guys. You have heard of Connor Cook. That's right. He's the mouthy Michigan State quarterback that went to the NFL and flamed out. And then flamed out in flag football. I don't know where he went after that. Anyways, Connor Cook. He has taken his aggressive bullshit to the streets. To the streets. You now can bet that Connor Cook can beat up hobos. Anywhere in this nation, he will go and fight your city's hobos. And then you can bet on it. How many? Here's one bet. How many hobos can Connor Cook beat up in one night? How many punches does it take Connor Cook to beat up your hobos? Things of that nature. You can then parlay that with another exciting category, and that is over under 5 games for Urban Meyer to get fired. Over under 5 games before he fakes a heart attack to get out of there. After you saw him finger popping buttholes in his favorite nightclub, the Urban Meyer restaurant or wherever he was at, I'm going to say, I don't know, it's the NFL. You never know. I know that there's people have said he's a joke, but anyways, over under 5. I would say go with the over just because it's the NFL and anything can happen. And I think they're going to force him to. But like I said, over under. Put your money down and see where you're at. Then you can also parlay it with Cardell Jones's spelling bee. That's right, Cardell Jones. Spelling bee. Now, it's a lot like Are You Smarter Than a Fourth Grader? That's right, guys. Are You Smarter Than a Fourth Grader? Spelling bee style. Can Cardell Jones outspell fourth graders? I'm here to say no. Especially if the word is school. Because as we all know, Cardell Jones did not go to Ohio State to play school. He went there to play football. So, with all that, you can make tens of dollars in betting. And here to help you out, Oddball, when you go and sign up and put in promo code Maniac Podcast, they will give you an extra $15 of fake money. So this way you can bet on all the fantastic bets they have on the Oddball site. So once again, guys, once you're done betting sports, bet Oddball. Now let's get into the round robin. The round robin that I think is fascinating. I mean, because maybe it's like this every year and I just haven't paid attention. But it's you got 4 teams all in the East vying for that one position to get to the Big Ten title game, right? And in my opinion, Penn State would have blasted Iowa by at least 15, by at least 2 scores if Sean Clifford would have stayed healthy. So basically what I'm saying here, I know it's arrogant, but whoever comes out of the East, I think will roll Iowa and then make it into the playoff, right? Because, it's those coveted 4 positions and only 4 stinky positions in that playoff. But anyways, and it all starts October 30th. Now, I think there's some there's a real chance here that Ohio State loses at least one of these games, at least one, and I think we're going to go 2-1. I really do. I think we're going to go 2-1. Until we beat Ohio State, it's hard for me to pick them, and I picked them to lose Ohio State this year in my preseason pick 'em thing. So I'm going to stick with that until they can. And I think this is a great year for them to prove me wrong, and I so hope to God they do. But I think we'll beat Michigan State in a thriller. I think actually I think the Penn State game, it's going to be good for 3 quarters, but I see us pulling away in the fourth. I see us pulling away in the fourth and winning it at least by 7 to 10 points by the end of that game. But it's going to be a thriller for 3 quarters because that whiteout. I think we're built to handle it this year. And then Ohio State, I think we lose. I think we're going to lose, but we'll lose like 10 points, 7 points. It'll be a moral victory, even though I don't believe in moral victories. I hope to God I'm wrong. I hope we kick the shit out of them. But until I'm proven wrong, I'm going to try to eliminate some of the heartache that I've had over the last couple years and just say, okay, we're going to lose. I think we're going to go 2-1. Now, I think MSU State has a chance to win one game out of the 3. And that, you guys are going to think this is crazy, but this is the most Michigan State thing that can happen. I think they're going to beat Ohio State. And the reason why, because that is a classic definition of trap game that you can ever set up. Your Ohio State is playing Michigan State the week before we play them. And if Michigan is still undefeated going into that week before we play them, the nation is going to be a buzz of the game for both of us to be heading in there undefeated in the Big Ten to see who gets the honor to go to the Big Ten title game. Michigan State, this is classic for them because they're going to have lost to us. And they're going to want to piss all over somebody's parade. And they're going to get a distracted Ohio State. And it would not shock me if Michigan State pulls one of the biggest upsets in college football this season with beating Ohio State. Indirectly helping us. But that's just how I see it. I think Michigan State's going to pull off one of the amazing upsets of all time. Or at least this season. Because they're no joke. They got a decent defense and really very good offense. I'll give it to them. Their running game is looking really great, and they've got a great passing game. So they have everything. They've got all the qualities to beat a distracted Ohio State team. I think it's going to happen. I think they're going 1-2. I think we go 2-1. To be quite honest with you, I think Penn State goes 0-3 in this, or maybe 1. I think they'll win 1 because I think they'll beat Michigan State. Maybe, but even then, they might not even do that. So I can maybe even see Michigan State winning 2 games there. It wouldn't shock me if Michigan State beats Penn State. It wouldn't shock me, and if Penn State beats Michigan State, it wouldn't shock me. Nothing's going to shock me this year, to be quite honest with you. Hell, even if Penn State goes in and beats Ohio State, the only thing I know is Ohio State's got 2 home games and 1 away game, which greatly benefits Ohio State. But regardless, still, nothing's going to surprise me this year. I still think we go 2-1. I'm going to call it. I think one of the wins that Michigan State's going to have in this is going to be against Ohio State, and I think Penn State will either win 1 or win none out of these games, and then Ohio State goes 1. They could go 2-1 or 1-2, but if they're 2-1 with a loss to Michigan State, and we have a loss to them, it's going to suck. And they'll help us, but then it'll also hurt us. But I don't know. It's all if we lose Ohio State, all for naught. It seems like, right? It does. It seems like it's all for naught. No matter what. I guess if we go 11-1 with a 1 loss to Ohio State, is that a failure of a season for us after we were just 2-4? I mean, we don't accomplish what we ultimately want to with the Big Ten, But in the greater good of it all, of the life of a program, this season has been so much more of a success than it ever has been. Even what if we go 9-3? Is it considered a failure? I mean, the culture is better, the coaching staff is better, the players are all bought in this time. There's no players that are just looking out for them; they're looking out for everyone. I mean, the overall picture is much better for the future of Michigan football. I don't know. I guess that's just something we have to figure out. But I can't wait to see this round robin get into effect on the 30th. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to be glued to my seat. I'm not going to be able to go anywhere. I got to see all these games happen. Each week, it's just going to be the most must-see TV for any Big Ten fan. This is what college football is all about. I love it. So, with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Once again, go to all the social media stuff, Twitter, Instagram. Enjoy the memes I put up there. Go to YouTube, like and subscribe. Enjoy the video I put up there. If you're listening to it here, God bless you. I just love everybody who listens. And the numbers, by the way, have been going up. You guys have been great. You're finally coming back. We're going to get this thing going again. Everything's going to be fantastic. Love this team. Love this season. It has been absolutely the best thing ever. I kind of assume this is what I'd have felt like in the 2016 season because it's just been nothing but fun. I'm sure there's going to be some adversity coming up. I just can't wait to see these guys play. And last year, after that Michigan State game, I didn't want to watch them play another down because I didn't know who or what team was going to show up. But I have a pretty good idea of what team's showing up every week with this one, and that excites me. I really am excited, guys. There's more good than there is bad or ugly. So this has been a fantastic season so far. Can't wait to see what the second half of this season holds for us. With that, I will leave with you saying it is great to be a Michigan Wolverine. It is great to be a Michigan Wolverine. And always and forever, guys, go blue.